You are listening to the So Now What podcast with Lana Manikowski, episode number 140.
So now what? These three words raced through my mind time and time again during my journey through fertility treatments. I tried desperately to have a child, but never was able. I yearned for a community to join that could understand my struggles. I couldn't find one, so I created one with the So Now What podcast. I love that you found us.
Hi, beautiful friend. I am so glad that we could be here together. I couldn't do it without you and all the people who continuously support me, give me ideas of things that they want to hear about, and then I can then create content that is relevant and necessary for you to hear. I just had someone reach out yesterday over Instagram asking me if I would do a podcast episode or if I had covered off on a certain topic. So if you have an idea of a topic, please let me know. And while you're at it, if you could rate and review the podcast, that would help so much. I am so happy to send you a $5 Starbucks gift card. If you rate and review the podcast, all you need to do is screenshot your review, send it to me, and I will have a $5 Starbucks gift card on your way via email in seconds. If you've gotten something out of this podcast, I would love if you could help rate and review it, because when people are searching for resources of how to create a life they love, even though they couldn't have the children that they dreamed of, we all know there's very few resources, and there's a higher chance that this podcast might show up in their search query. So please help me out and help your fellow women with infertility out by helping this show up, hopefully, in their search query. So that is my request for you this week. I wanted to remind you that next Tuesday, September 10th, you need to be registered for my class about how to handle things people say when you are childless without wanting to throat punch them. We've all been there when somebody makes a suggestion about something that we should be trying in order to have kids, or asks that awkward icebreaker question when you meet someone for the first time and they're like, "So, how many kids do you have?" And they just assume that you have kids. I'm doing a whole class on how to handle those comments, ways that you can respond and feel as though you are in control of the narrative around you and your story and your inability to have children. So make sure you are registered for that. The link to that will be in the show note, or you can always message me on Instagram. I will send you the link to the free coaching class. If you can't make it, no biggie. As long as you are registered, you will get a link to the replay. All right. This week, let's talk about relationships with your BFFs and your friends with kids. And I'm going to tell you how this started out. I have a core group. There's 4 of us that have been friends for nearly 20 years, some of us more. And we've all kind of gone on these different paths in our lives, but our friendship still remains tried and true. I want to talk this week about what to do if you feel like you are an outsider amongst this group of friends that used to feel kind of like your security blanket and your support system. And they might be going on to have kids and have families, and you feel like you're the only one who doesn't have kids. This past weekend, we all got together. I was sitting at the table and appreciating the fact that we each had different paths that we were on. I am the only one who is not a mom to human children. One of them is a solo mom, and she's absolutely rocking it, dealing with cancer treatment, has gone through chemo, is battling breast cancer, but still shows up as an awesome mom. My other bestie is a mom to 2 foster children, and she has made such significant impacts in their lives. They're both in college right now, and because of her and her desire to help create impact in their lives, they are doing awesome. The other bestie I have has 3 children, 2 of which she had via IVF. She was my big cheerleader to go back and continue pursuing infertility treatments after I took a break from doing IVF here in Chicago. She's the one that encouraged me to go to Colorado and continue my journey. And even though it didn't result in any living children, I always thank her for being part of that. encouragement for me. All this to say, we were sitting around the dinner table having an awesome time like we always do. And I became so appreciative of how each of us have individually shown up for each other. I spent a lot of time feeling disconnected from these group of girls, even though they loved me. They helped me the best that they could. They were there for me when I was navigating IVF. There was a time when they were young moms and I didn't show up to all the things that in my brain I said I should have gone to, and didn't get baby gifts because it was hard for me to go shopping in the baby aisle. And for, baby showers, I often was one who would host them because for me that was a way to disconnect myself from actually having to be an active participant. Being the hostess for me was a really good option because it kept me busy planning for being the hostess of somebody else's baby shower and all the details that go into it. But I want to address the fact that you might feel like an outsider amongst friends who have a different path than you have. And we sat around the dinner table the other night and everyone was kind of giving updates and little comments about their kids and where they were, back to school stuff and who was doing this and who was doing what. And I didn't have anything to add to the conversation. And I am finally at a point that that is okay. And I can't tell you how freeing and liberating it is to not feel like you are the outsider all the time. If you feel like you're an outsider, you're not doing something wrong. You just have not been given the tools to be able to help you with that. That's why I have 3 pillars in the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind, one of which is relationships. And that's inclusive of relationships with your friends with kids, family with kids, relationship with your spouse. When you're enrolled in the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind, we focus on how do you build relationships up with people that you have always seen as your support system and your BFFs and the people that have been through so much with you. Or if it's time to say goodbye to those friendships, how do you do that as well? Because what I've learned through my coaching journey and with the women that I've helped in the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind is that sometimes there's an end to a friendship. And sometimes it's okay to decide that that circle is complete and that group of friends maybe isn't who you want at this point in your life. And instead of feeling as though you are always the one being left out or being the one who doesn't feel connected, how can you create connection for yourself that you feel recognized as somebody who is a contributor in a conversation? And if you don't have a group of people around you that are welcoming to you and your story, maybe it's time to say sayonara. Maybe it's time to tap into what do you bring to the conversation. If you can't add to the back to school stuff and don't have a picture of a kid for setting off to school or stories to tell, how can you create relevance with who you are and understand and have a stronger belief about what you have to offer to this world and to your friendships if you don't have anything to add at the dinner time conversation about being a mom? And I know that it is possible because I have done it. And there are some people in my life that I love very much from afar, and they're not anymore part of my inner circle. And then there's people that at one time I felt really disconnected from, that I now have been able to create a greater recognition of who I am and the relevance that I have so that I can continue on these friendships in a different way. But whatever it is, I want you to know that you do not have to cower from being proud of who you are. And you don't have to feel as though you're irrelevant because you don't have children to add into the mix of conversation. And I want every woman who has gone through fertility treatments and not been able to become a mom to know what that freedom feels like. And you deserve to have that relevance and joy of being part of a circle. And maybe it means finding more friends without kids. That's why I started my meetup group here in Chicago and why it's grown to over 600 women, because there are so many women who maybe want to find friends that they can talk freely about their infertility struggles or being childless without feeling like they have to over explain. And maybe a portion of your journey that will be help for you. And maybe as you continue to evolve, you'll be ready to go back, be part of an active friendship with people that have kids. But whatever it is, there is something for you. You just have to be willing to recognize that things might change a little bit. And as long as we believe that life always has to stay the same and friendships have to stay the same and dynamics have to stay the same in order for you to feel good, you're always going to be beholden to how other people react in order for you to feel good. And that's the beauty of life coaching. That's something that I didn't know about before I found life coaching, that I could decide what I needed for myself in order to feel good. I didn't always have to wait to be included in the girls' nights or feel as though I had something to add to the conversation in order to feel relevant. And I want every woman to know that that is possible for them. So if that at all sounds interesting to you, I invite you to join Thrive After Infertility. My next class is starting on October 1st. And the group of women that are part of this class, I can tell you, are going to make you feel as though your story is recognizable and worth celebrating, because Thrive After Infertility is not a support group. There are many women who, when they finish their fertility treatments, need that support where they need to feel as though other people are feeling as drained and disconnected and misunderstood as they are. And that is good. If that's where you're at in your journey, I love that you are able to find that. But Thrive After Infertility Mastermind is for the woman who wants to move beyond that, that they no longer want to feel as they no longer want to feel as though they are the odd person out. They want to feel in control and powerful and believing that their life turned out differently than they thought it would, but they can still fall in love with their life again. So if that's something that's of interest to you, I will also put in the show notes. I will put the link to the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind. I would love for you to consider being part of that if you are somebody who is ready to feel in love with your life again. So I hope you have a beautiful week. I love you. And remember that it's never too late to discover your meaning. I'll talk to you next week. Hey, real quick, I just want to tell you about an awesome resource I created. If you have ever found yourself in conversations with people, or maybe people offering you suggestions about what you should do to become a mom, it's called The Top 27 Things People Say When You're Childless and How to Respond. You can get your copy free at lanamanikowski.com/thingspeoplesay.